Good afternoon, Council. We'll call to order this meeting of Monday, December the 4th, 2023, and we'll start with the reading of the land acknowledgement, and that will be Councillor Ring. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Hamlin. For more than 15,000 years, the First Nations walked upon and cared for the lands we now call home. Anishinaabek, Haudenosaunee, Ojibwe, and many others who were families, friends, and communities the way we are today. Town of Collingwood acknowledges the Lake Simcoe-Nottawasaga Treaty of 1818 and the relationship it establishes with the original inhabitants of Turtle Island. We acknowledge the reality of our shared history and the current contributions of Indigenous people within our community. We seek to continue empowering expressions of pride amongst all of the diverse stakeholders in this area. We seek to do better and to continue to recognize, learn, and grow in friendship and community, nation to nation.
Thank you. I'm now looking for a mover and a seconder to adopt the agenda. The motion's as follows: that the content of the council agenda for December 4, 2023 be adopted as amended. There are two amendments. The first one, staff report T 2023-23, 2024 fees and service charges added, and also the secondly amended motion read Collingwood Heritage Committee minutes of November 2, 2023. Councillor Potts and Councillor Perry, all those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. Any declarations of pecuniary interest? Deputy Mayor Fryer, please.
Thank you, Mayor Hamlin. For agenda item 8.1, Committee of the Whole report, I will have T 2023-03, fees and charges, Appendix A, pulled, and then asked for a severing of the Collingwood Aquatic Center fees in D1, as I have a relative who is a part-time lifeguard as such a pecuniary interest conflict, and I will leave the table for Council's consideration at that item.
Thank you. Councillor Houston.
Thank you. As director of an organization which has an interest in a property discussed during the previous special council meeting on November 27th, of which I was unable to attend, and this being my first meeting back at this time, I'd like to give notice that I have a disqualifying interest in the matter and did not and will not be participating in the discussion or voting on the item.
Thank you. The next matter is the adoption of previous minutes. And I'm looking for a mover and a seconder as follows: that the minutes of the council meeting held November 20 and special council meeting on November 27, 2023 be approved as presented. Councillor Ring, seconded by Deputy Mayor Fryer. Any comments? All those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. Also, our last meeting was in camera, and I indicated there would be a report. So I have a brief report on those matters. There's three items that we discussed, and I'll just summarize as follows. Firstly, council's considering an acquisition of a property. There's pending negotiations for a conditional offer. And council will seek public feedback prior to proceeding with the purchase, and more details will be available in the near future. The location of the property cannot be disclosed yet, as conditional negotiations have occurred only, but more information will be available in early 2024. Secondly, council also received an update on continued negotiations with the developers and municipal partners regarding the future of the water treatment plant expansion project. As the public is aware, the low bidder has agreed to maintain their prices until January the 16th, 2024. And we hope to have financing options in place, particularly for New Tecumseh's share, including the potential for other municipal partners, that this will enable this significant project to proceed. And lastly, town staff and consultants are continuing to negotiate the draft development agreement for the grain terminal revitalization project, and this will be coming back to council shortly. So we discussed each of those three at our in-camera meeting. And also for the public, just a reminder to go on the Engage Collingwood page if you have interest and register to keep up to date on future engagement opportunities, particularly for the Green Terminal Revitalization Project, which is now known as the Terminals Point Project. Okay, so that's for the update from in camera. Next item is community announcements. We'll start with Deputy Mayor Fryer.
Thank you, Mayor Hamlin. I have a few short items. On November 21st, Councillor Potts, Ring, and Perry and myself attended a seminar at CCI, How to Protect Your Child from Human Trafficking. The speakers' presentations and responses to the many questions from the well-attended session were very informative and probably aptly described as concerning. Although not a presenter, the Collingwood OPP Detachment School Resource Officer, Deneen, was in attendance and also provided some further detail and suggestions to questions that were raised with her. I conveyed Council's appreciation to the organizers and Officer Dean for their ongoing efforts towards helping protect our vulnerable children as best possible. On November 28th, Councillors Ring and Perry and myself attended on behalf of Council, Braden Usher's finale event for his Ride Across Canada expedition for mental health campaign. He told us his inspiring initiative that started with a goal of raising $18,000 to achieving at last count around $50,000. I also conveyed to Braden on behalf of Council his selfless efforts, both physically, mentally, and directly raising funds to help with the troubling impact of poor mental health for a younger demographic are very appreciated as well. On November 29th, I attended the second night of Sunset Manor's Christmas celebration event, recognizing not only the holiday season, but our senior demographic who also have contributed so much to the betterment of our community. I brought best of the holiday wishes on behalf of Council and in Simcoe County, as well as our thanks to the tremendous staff and volunteers that have put so much effort into meeting the challenges of the last few years. Executive Director Sherry Bell and the others are commended for getting everything working so well as to be able to hold the first Xmas celebration since 2019. It was a joyous occasion. And those are the items I had.
Thank you. Councillor Houston. Oh, no, I guess it's Councillor Doherty. Next. Yep.
I have nothing this evening, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Houston.
Thank you. Just a couple of items. Downtown Collingwood's first Friday Christmas market was a great success, and it continues for the next 2 Fridays from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. with even more vendors signed up. You can shop for great gift ideas from your favorite downtown businesses and market vendors and check out the strolling entertainers along the way. The Fleetwood dancers are performing the Nutcracker in the windows, and there's free horse and wagon rides throughout downtown. Stop by to visit Santa in his big red sleigh beside the Christmas tree. He'll also be there on Saturday, December 9th from noon till 3 with his reindeer in training. And one final note, Strategy Corp will be in attendance at the market on the 8th looking for resident input as the town and BIA embark on the Downtown Visioning Master Plan and Strategic Plan. Residents' input is critical to ensuring the development of these plans reflect the values and priorities of the community, and everyone is encouraged to participate. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Councillor Potts.
Thanks, Mayor Hamlin. Just to touch on Deputy Mayor Fryer's comments, I was also in attendance for the Braden Usher presentation. So I wanted to just note that it was very touching and certainly moving to hear his story. And just for Braden and his family, the community does support his initiative and really appreciated the night and everything that he's done. That's all. Thanks.
That's great. Thank you. Councillor Ring.
Thank you very much, Mayor Hanlon. Sunday, November 26th, I had the pleasure being a former shipyard worker of attending a play and a musical at the Simcoe Street Theater. It was titled Sandwich, which commemorated the past shipyard workers. This event was sponsored by the Collingwood Museum. It was very well done, and it truly did bring back some very special memories. So I think everybody in attendance, especially the former shipyard employees, very grateful. And the accuracy of the play was pretty close to what really happened in the shipyard. I just piggyback on Deputy Mayor and Councillor Potts with Braden. What really impressed me about the night being with Braden Usher when he was talking, he ended up the night with a Q&A session. And one question that really stuck to my mind that made me be very proud to be from Collingwood was he was asked where was from St. John's to Victoria Island, where was his most proud moment? And he said it was the day he drove through Collingwood. So that's something.
That's so nice.
That's all I have.
Councillor Baines.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm pleased to be able to announce today the launch of the Collingwood Museum's new online collections database. At the click of a button, residents and researchers from around the world can now access over 500 photographs from 3 of the museum's most requested photographic collections: historic residences, Huron Institute Historical Catalog, and Hurontario Street. I've seen them. They're amazing. I'd recommend everybody to go and check them out. You can check that out by going to the collingwood.pastperfectonline.com. And if you don't remember that, just go to the museum's website and you'll see where the link is to click and review these. They're wonderful. And following along, one more announcement. Now, I'm sure none of my colleagues here are old enough to remember radio's famous dumbbells, but Ken Muir from the will be repeating in his podcast issued tomorrow, the Dumbbells' comedic impact during wartime, the lasting legacy, and the group's connection to our area, which they have. The Dumbbells was a comedic troupe that found great popularity during the First World War, performing for men and women serving overseas. So I highly recommend check out the Dumbbells if you've never heard of who they are. And last but not least, on behalf of the town of Collingwood, I accepted the 2023 Pet Partner certificate presented by the Georgian Triangle Humane Society. No doubt this should have been Councillor Perry that accepted this, but for whatever reason, I happened to be around, so I will present this to the town. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Perry.
Well, thanks, Mayor Hamlin. You get all the glory, right, Councillor Baines? That's all good. I have a couple library announcements. Actually, I do have a question of your community announcement for the museum pictures. Are they downloadable or can you purchase them?
That's a very good question. I assume you can purchase them, but I haven't found that out myself. I had to ask Melissa that. She said you can certainly get it.
Thank you. Okay, on to the library. So we have 2 local authors will be at the library this Saturday, December 9th, from 2 to 4 p.m. Dan Needles marks the return to village life with frankness, humor, and unforgettable characters in his new book, Finding Larkspur. Also, Fred Addis will be speaking about his nonfiction book, Gallinger, A Life Suspended, which tells the story of the NHL's worst gambling scandal. You don't have anything to do with this, do you? You can register for this event by emailing Lori Crossan at lcrossan@collingwoodpubliclibrary.ca. Also, get in the holiday spirit with a children's Christmas party on December 22nd at 10:30 a.m. Christina will be reading holiday stories and everyone can enjoy candy canes, crafts, and holiday music. And that's all I have.
Okay, those are all great things. I have a few things. Last Tuesday, I attended at the Georgian Triangle Humane Society's reception for donors for their regional Center for Pets and People with several of the council members who weren't at the other matter. And it was great. We were there on behalf of the town. There's a lot of donors. They've raised already $7.5 million. They have a long way to go still, but they're quite eager to get going in construction in 2024. So that was good news. And then this coming week, on Thursday evening, the Humane Society is also having an open house at their current location from 3 to 6, and council will all be there who are able to wish them the best of the season. This week, also on Thursday afternoon, I'll be attending at the fire station to be there for a donation of firefighting equipment from Enbridge as part of their Project Assist. So that's a great thing for our community. And lastly, on Saturday, I have agreed to attend at the Blue Mountain. Sorry, it's Sunday. I have another thing Saturday, but okay. And what it is, it's called a public menorah lighting, and it's from 5 to 6 p.m. at the Blue Mountain Village. It's being sponsored by Roman and Susie Goldstein, and it's a celebration of Hanukkah. So there will be menorah kits, refreshments, live music. And I have heard from several members of our community recently who have experienced some discrimination because they're Jewish. And they have told me that they are hoping that they will be able to raise the profile of the Jewish community because they're not easily seen. We don't have a synagogue in town. And and I don't know if this is related, but this is the first such celebration of Hanukkah that I can remember here. So I'll go and say a few words on behalf of the town, and everyone's, of course, welcome to attend. Okay, those are the announcements. There's no deputations this evening. And we have one recurring update. This is on our Poplar Health and Wellness Village MZO update, and I'll turn this to CAO Skinner.
Thank you, Mayor Hamlin. So you'll recall that some time ago, we were reaching agreement with the DEPUTATIONS group on the development agreement that goes hand in hand with the ministerial zoning order, which we call MZO. And that's where the minister makes a direct decision on zoning, that the DEPUTATIONS group had proposed to council and the minister, and that both endorsed just over a year ago. I updated the public and council about a month ago that the DEPUTATIONS group had brought up some concerns about the wording in the draft official plan and submitted that to our official plan portal or via the director. And we would like to see the development agreement signed, as this was committed when the MZO proposal was endorsed by the last council. And we've agreed upon the wording in that agreement since August 18th of this year. Tomorrow morning, we are meeting again, the mayor, the deputy mayor, Director Valentine, and I, with the DEPUTATIONS group and several other of the representatives of the development to discuss proceeding with the development agreement and their concerns. Once the development agreement is signed, we can all move forward with the wonderful work that is proposed for the Poplar Health and Wellness Village and in attracting businesses, the hospital, and other beneficial ventures to Collingwood. Finally, as expected, given Minister Calandra's statements when he took on the Minister of MMAH position, the ministry has reached out to the town and asked us to submit the facts, which we have related to this MZO relating to the status of its implementation to date. And that's the brief update for today. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the CAO? No? Okay. So the next matter is our standing committee report, and I'll look for a mover and a seconder of all of this, and then we'll separate out these items. Yes.
Sorry, Mayor Hamlin. I was going to ask for some severing, but are you intending on looking at the items separately? Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's
what I just said.
Yeah, that surprised me because I thought you'd be looking for.
Well, I thought what I'd do is I'll look for a mover and a seconder of all of it.
Yep.
And then we'll deal with each one separately. And when it comes to your item, you can step out.
That suits me. Yep.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so the motion says follows, that council receive the committee of the whole report from its meeting held November 20, 2023, and hereby approve the recommendations contained within the report as presented. So there's 4. Number 1, P 2023-19, delegated authority for file closure. It's been amended. Secondly, CCS 2023-09, revisions to the discrimination, violence, and harassment-free workplace policy. 3, T 2023-23, this is the 2024 fees and service charges amended. And fourthly, C 2023-23, review of council, committee of the whole governance model pilot. Mover and a seconder. Councillor Baines, Councillor Houston. Okay, so we have to receive that? Yeah, so, or, okay, so we'll just have a motion to receive all of those. Thank you. All those in favor, thank you. And now we'll sever them out. So the first one on the delegated authority for file closure. Is there anyone who wishes to make any comments on this? All right, all those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. The next one is the policies for workplace harassment and so on. Any comments on this one? All those in favor? And that's unanimous. Thank you. The next one is fees and services. So we'll deal with it without the D1 schedule appendix 1, which is Deputy Fryer's aquatics program. So we'll wait. So we'll deal with it without that. So you can vote first. So any comments? Yes, Councillor Doherty.
Yes, I was wondering if we could separate out parking fees.
Of course.
Thank you.
Do you want to raise? So okay, so let's vote on everything except parking fees and the appendix D1 that Deputy Fryer is interested in. Aquatic. Yeah. Thank you. I'll call it aquatic. All those in favor? And that's unanimous. Thank you. So now we'll ask Deputy Mayor Fryer to leave. And I'll wait a minute till he leaves the room. So we're specifically dealing with the aquatic fees found in Appendix 1D1. Any comments? All those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. Deputy Mayor, you can come back in. Thank you. That was the quickest one ever. And I'll now turn it over to Councillor Doherty.
Thank you, Chair. At the November 20th meeting, there was some discussion among council with regard to parking fees at the Eddie Bush Memorial Arena parking lot. And there had been a request from the public to permit the waiving of fees for folks who are attending hockey, junior hockey games or practices or other junior events in the winter. And it appears as though it has ultimately gone to a report or a request for a report as to some other option for regular users of the parking lot during the time that the Eddie Bush is being used for junior programs. And I know that the treasurer was not supportive of a removal of parking fees for any reason. And I must admit that I do agree with her in that the fees are not onerous. Maximum, if you're there for 2.5 hours, is $2.50. And all the revenue that we get from parking is very important to add to our reserves against expenditures for any number of things related to parking and parking facilities. So I will be voting against that the amendment on the fees.
Okay, thank you. Could we have staff summarize what the changes are that, yes, go ahead.
Thank you. There was a request via a resolution for staff to look at if changes should be made, and there is material noted in the amendment portion of this report showing the review. Staff did not recommend a change, so thus there is not a recommended change in the motion that you're voting upon unless someone was to bring forward an amendment to include it.
Okay, thank you for that. Does anyone else want to speak to this? Yes, Councillor Baines.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would agree with staff's recommendation. I think it's a slippery slope if we go down this path and becomes very problematic for other interest groups anywhere in the town that would look and say, well, just a second, if you did it for them, why can't you do it for us? And this is a part of being a councillor, in my opinion, of to try and be consistent in a policy right across the town for all interest groups. So for that reason, I would support staff's recommendation in regard to this. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, we'll bring this to a vote then. All those in favor, this is now just with, we've already voted on everything else. Now we're just voting on the parking. And really what we're voting on is the staff recommendation to no change for the Eddie Bush parking during the hockey. Okay, all right, all those in favor of the staff recommendation. Okay, those opposed. Okay, that carries, thank you. All right, and then the last item of this standing committee report has to do with the model pilot we've done for governance and staff's recommendations there. And I believe Deputy Mayor wishes to address council, so please go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Hamlin. As background, I'll refer back to our discussion when the Committee of the Whole pilot was initiated and some concerns were raised, which led to an updated selection process. I stated back then that a reconsideration would not be undertaken. Rather, it would be put off until this point when final governance structure decisions would be made. My position continues to support that meetings of council are chaired by the current mayor, as outlined in the Municipal Act. Our procedural bylaw changes will impact future councils, so we are all trying to put something in place that is not only the most efficiently functional for us, but it'll also be readily acceptable for the next council. That consistency will help the public understand our process, providing a clearer indication of how to interact with council. Option 2 on page 11 establishes a maximum level of consistency and efficiency, not only with the council governance model and the Municipal Act aspects, but also with the public process and staff regarding our meetings. The proposed step to now have the Committee of the Whole included as part of the council agenda will serve to promote this goal even further. This option also addresses the reviewed issue of confusion for the public of chair-mayor roles in Committee of the Whole. But I will only put that option forward to consider if Mayor Hamlin is agreeable to maintain her chair for Committee of the Whole too. If not, I would then put option 3 on the floor for discussion, as it achieves a continuation of the role of deputy mayor as outlined in the Municipal Act section 224 and 225. I would like council support of this option, as I am seeking to commit to undertake the chair position. Regarding the alternatives presented for vice chair, I would propose B, that another member of council be appointed semi-annually. That serves the purpose of allowing councillors the opportunity to learn more about the process involved when chairing is required. In this regard, as chair, I would commit to help orientate anyone as required, including finding opportunities to have the vice chair take on more when they are better prepared. Another benefit of these options will be that the offline staff and chairs meeting day orientation review, which really helps us to be more prepared, will only require Mayor Hamlin and myself and not 4 of us. I will close off then with that during my term, I have demonstrated my ability to chair our meetings. I've shown my commitment to properly prepare and have ensured that not only the rules of procedure are maintained, but all members have the appropriate opportunity to speak to the fullest on any discussions they bring forward, as well as I have shown that I can interact well with the delegates from the public and other aspects. I'd appreciate your support. So those are my opening comments, and I'd be willing to listen to anyone else and respond if required. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions for the clerk before I open this up. Firstly, the deputy mayor has indicated that whatever we do will affect future councils. And can you just maybe advise council whether changes to this procedural bylaw would affect councils in the future?
Thank you, Your Worship. So the procedural bylaw is the document that municipal councils and our committees and boards adhere to for all their meeting procedures. And it can be amended from time to time as required. So if it does not seem to work for the council at the time, they have the ability to amend it.
Okay, thank you. And the deputy mayor, I believe, has indicated he's content with the recommendations of council or of the report, except for who is chair. Is that right? Okay. Is there, I didn't consider that this would be part of the discussions today. And if we were going to vote for who is going to be chair and vice chair of this committee, we could do that at a separate time. Is that possible? Okay. All right. Okay, so we'll just open this up for discussion on, this is an amendment that you're making then, Deputy Mayor, to the report?
At the previous council of the whole, I supported receiving the report. It contains the recommended situation, which is the selection of a chair and vice chair. So I'm proposing that instead of that recommendation, the option 2B, if again, I'm assuming that you've indicated that you're not wanting to be chair. So it would be the 2B part on page 11.
Yeah,
So
I would say I haven't.
Do I need to put an amendment in, or? So the clerk is nodding. So I'd be looking for amendment on the recommendation of the chair and vice chair part of the report to be 2B instead of, I believe it's option 1 currently.
Okay, so if I can just paraphrase so I understand it. So what you're suggesting is that option 1, but the chair and vice chair would be fixed for the balance of the term of council. And that we would select those two at the time we choose.
Sorry for the confusion, Mayor Hamlin. It's option 2B is what I'm recommending or asking for amendment consideration by council.
I'm looking at so many options here. Option 1, option 2.
On page 11.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm on page 11 right now, actually. So 2 doesn't have a B.
Oh, okay. So I didn't put that. No, it's option 2. And it's the same. So I guess technically it's 3B. Yeah, 3B. The 2 and 3 read the same, and then the 3 has the A and B. Okay. So I mistakenly, I should have just said 3B instead of 2. Sorry about that.
Okay. I should just also say, and I don't know if this affects your motion, but other than I would, have thought I thought it would be a great idea if everyone took turns being the chair of the committee of the whole. And maybe I'll speak to that in a minute. I'll let other people go ahead. Anyone else wish to speak to the amendment that's on the floor? Yes, Councillor Doherty.
Thank you. So I certainly appreciate the point that the deputy mayor has made, and certainly do not in any way call into question his ability to chair a meeting, because he chairs a good one. But I am inclined to agree with the recommendation and with you, Mayor, that this rotating the chair and vice chair of the committee of the whole is a great opportunity for other members of council and to gain experience and to hone their leadership skills. So I am inclined to support the 1A, which is a rotate semi-annually, which was the recommended. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Would anyone else like to speak to this? Yes, Councillor Baines.
Thank you, Mayor Hamlin. First of all, I'd like to say I'd appreciate hearing the opinion of Councillor Jeffrey, who has served us, I think, very well in this position. I'd be interested in her opinion on this. And yeah, as such, if we could delay this until she returns, I think it'd be valuable. For myself, at some point, as former Premier Davis used to say, in the fullness of time, I would love to take on more of a leadership role, whether that is as vice chair or, depending on how this turns out, chair at some point. But I think there's a lot to learn before I can step into being chair. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, my own thoughts were that, you know, I'd like the idea of the rotating chair for the reasons that Councillor Doherty's expressed. It does give everyone an opportunity to, you know, hone their leadership skills. I thought that was a good way of putting it. It can be a bit daunting if you haven't chaired a meeting to think about doing that. But we have an amazing clerk who's got an amazing staff. And I know last term of council, there's so much help that can be given. Like, for example, it used to be not very long ago that who was going to move and second each motion was decided beforehand, and it was handed out at the meeting. I mean, it can be made it can be a lot more structured than it is right now. And I'm just the kind of person who's not that structured. So you get me. But it can be a lot more structured. And there is a format for exactly how the meetings go in terms of if there's a staff report, you know, staff goes first, then we hear from the public, then we hear from, I mean, it looks complicated, but it's actually the same every meeting. And the clerk has a format that you can follow. So it's, believe it or not, anyone can do this job. Okay, so for those reasons, I was in support of a rotating chair, knowing that right away, you know, we can see, you know, obviously our deputy mayor and Councillor Doherty, following Councillor Jeffrey, would probably be stepping up first to be chair. But if others were vice chair and even just sat in on the meetings to get started as vice chair, because there is an agenda review as well, the morning of council meetings for about, I don't know, up to half an hour, where you go over what's on the agenda so you understand it and ask any questions. And so the vice chair also participates in that. So if you're a vice chair, you get more of an insight into what's happening. So I just wanted to assure everyone that you're not out there on your own, you know, leading a meeting right off the bat, in case that was something that people are worried about. And I haven't had a chance to talk to all of you, so I'm not really sure. Did you want to add one more thing?
Thank you, Mayor Hamlin. As long as no one else wanted to speak first, I was just going to, I did mention in my note, I recognize the idea of people becoming more and more familiar with processes is a great one. And therefore, I talked about committing to, as chair, work with the vice chair. If it's somebody that has no background in it, I'd work with them over the course of the first couple of months, helping them be familiar. And then we'd pick a couple of agendas that maybe were lighter and didn't have the public interaction at the start, that I could step aside and let the vice chair take over. And I think it'd be a good learning exercise and provide that mechanism for people to learn. So I committed to that, and I agree fully with you. Those meetings that we have in the morning before today's meeting are very helpful in preparing us and getting us all on the same page, so that when we're here, because you think you're ready until the camera comes on, and then all of a sudden you're a little bit. The thoughts kind of seem to disappear on you. So anyway, that's why I was putting it forward. I did have the opportunity to do some texting with Councillor Jeffrey this past weekend, and decided to bring it forward. If I'm successful with my my request, it is a case of where if Council Jeffrey felt strongly about it, she could ask for a reconsideration when she's back. But I guess those are my closing comments at this point in time. Thank you.
Okay. So what I'd like to suggest is that we vote on the recommendation to rotate the chair. And if that passes, then we'll vote on the whole of the rest of the report, except for I have one more amendment coming up on that, so I'll raise it next. But if council decides they don't want to rotate the chair, then I'm going to suggest that we put the election of a chair to a future meeting when Councillor Jeffrey's back. Okay. All right. So if I could, we'll go to a vote now on whether or not. So what we're going to vote for is to have a rotating chair semi-annually. So that would be twice a year. Yeah. So you'd have a 6-month rotation as a chair and vice chair. But you could skip your turn. I'm going to also say it would not be mandated. So no, we've already had this. Do you have a confusion about the process? Okay, go ahead.
And maybe through you, if I could just ask the clerk. So I'm thinking that that's what we want, but I'm proposing an amendment to that the deputy mayor be the chair. And we're voting on the idea of whether or not to rotate the chair. So effectively, is that the same thing? I'll ask the clerk that. It seems to me like it is.
Thank you. Through the chair. So basically, what the mayor is suggesting is we vote on the motion as it was recommended within the staff report and as approved by the committee of the whole last week. So that would be that the mayor and the deputy mayor respectively chair and vice chair council meetings, and the chair and the vice chair of committee of the whole rotate on a semi-annual basis.
So not the amendment that I was asking for.
Yep. So if this is defeated, then you can put your motion on the floor.
Okay, that's how it would work. Okay, correct. Thank you, Mayor. I'm sorry for the confusion.
That's okay. Okay. So was there another question? Councillor Ring, did you have a question?
Just, I'm not questioning what the clerk says it, but I'm reading that the, excuse me, the recommendation was option 1, and it has a rotate committee of the whole chair and vice chair semi-annually, and that was recommended. It doesn't say who it has to be. It just says we will. So really, we're not designating who it's going to be or who it can be.
Well,
yeah,
that's right.
Be that it's going to be rotated every 6 months.
That's right.
Okay.
And it might be if 2 people said, I never want to be chair, then there might be a duplication of somebody, right?
Deputy mayor's suggestion as well.
Mm-hmm. Or it could be that as well. That's right. Okay.
Sorry, Mary, sorry for the confusion, but I'm proposing that it be put down that it's deputy mayor. So it's not a case of where so I'm not supportive of this as it's going forward, because I'm not going to put my name forward. I'm putting my name forward right now. And if it's defeated, then the rotating chair won't be deputy mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So just to make it clear, what we're voting on is the staff recommendation that the committee of the whole meetings would have a rotating chair and vice chair. So it would be changing potentially every 6 months. Okay, all those understand that? Got it? Okay, all those in.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just one more question, Dan. I'm sorry. So then we're voting for option 1, which will mean deputy mayor's was for option 3, right?
Yeah. So if the if council says they like the rotating chair, that we won't deal with deputy mayor's motion. And at a future meeting, probably our next one, when Councillor Jeffrey's back, we'll vote on who should be the first chair and deputy and vice chair.
So we can make the decision at that point?
Yeah.
Okay, because if we don't, we can't, we're not accepting any of option 1, right? Because it's not broke down. I mean, option 1, there's a lot of it before you get to the rotating part. If you read the whole option.
Do you want to summarize, Clerk Holmes? I think we'll have this clerk summarize it. Thank you.
Certainly. Thank you, Your Worship. So option 1 is for council meetings that the chair and the vice chair will always be the mayor and the deputy mayor. for council meetings. And for committee of the whole meetings, it would be reviewed and appointed semi-annually. And for only the committee of the whole portion, because regardless, the council would be continued to be chaired by the mayor and the deputy mayor as vice. And the deputy mayor is proposing that, again, the mayor and the deputy mayor is always the chair and vice chair for council meetings, but the deputy mayor would be the chair of committee of the wholes always, and you would only rotate the vice chair position. So that's what would be considered if the first motion, as recommended by staff, is defeated.
That's what I was trying to get at.
Okay.
Because I know what you said, but we won't get there if we accept option one in its entirety. Correct?
Go ahead, clerk. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. So it would basically be option 1A. As identified on the report.
This is on page 11. Yes, Councillor Perry.
Thank you, Mayor Hamlin. And this question's for Deputy Mayor Fryer. Did I understand if we go to a rotating basis, you're going to exclude yourself from that? Or did I hear that correctly? I'm not sure. That's what I thought I heard.
Yeah, go ahead.
Through you, Mayor Hamlin. Yes, I'm putting my name forward now. So if it's defeated, then I don't see me putting my name forward for a rotating situation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any more questions? Okay, all those in favor of the staff recommendation? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and those opposed? 1, 2, 3, and that carries. Thank you. Yes.
Since there's going to be the selection process for chair and vice chair, and it's all fresh in our minds, I think it's important that I bring this up because I do believe it's part of the procedural bylaw, and it has to do with the selection process. And we had made amendment to the selection process back when we first went through the setting of the chair and vice chair. But when we have more people from council interested in being either chair or vice chair, the way our system works right now is people can let the clerk know by email. And I'll use the example of the Downtown Visioning Committee. Councillor Potts put his name in, I put my name in, and Councillor Houston put his name in. So there's 3 for 2 positions. And we held an election for that. And the way it occurred was we voted first on Councillor Potts because he had emailed the clerk first. I had emailed second, and Councillor Houston had emailed third. So Councillor Potts received 8 votes. I received 5 votes, which was a majority of council, and the 2 of us were appointed. And in my view, there were still 5 votes on the table, but because of the process we used, those never got considered, and therefore Councillor Houston and I would have been tied. So I'm going to recommend that in the future, when we're dealing with more people than positions, I think it'd be a good idea to have a paper ballot that is handed to the clerk and she can read out. So we're being public about our votes, but all 18 votes will get counted in that case. Right. So
can I make a suggestion? You may have the best suggestion, but I think we're not going to decide on how we're going to do this right now. And I think for ease of, meeting, if you could speak to the clerk after the meeting and make sure she understands what exactly you're proposing. And then perhaps the clerk could bring forward that as an option with what's in our procedural bylaw. And when we're having the election to vote on the person, time to fill the first positions, we can decide what, if we need to amend our procedural bylaw at that time. But I don't think it would be appropriate at this time to get into voting on amending that.
Sorry, Mayor Hamlin, I'm fine with that. I just thought since it was fresh in everybody's kind of mind, it'd be a good time to mention it.
Yeah.
So we can deal with it at the time. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Baines.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd just like to say quickly that I support the Deputy Mayor in this observation. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and I mentioned there was one item on the procedural bylaw recommendations that I wanted to change. This is for the length of the break between the council meeting and the committee of the whole. I believe the staff report had mentioned at least initially a 30 to 40-minute break, and the reasons were to make sure everyone got a chance to get up and eat and move around, including staff who have long. So, and I think the current recommendation is 30 minutes, and I wanted to propose 40. So I don't know if there'd be a seconder for that, but that was my, I should be turning this over to you, Deputy Mayor. That's my proposal, but this would be an amendment.
Thank you, Mayor Hamlin. You'd like to propose something? Go ahead.
Yeah, that there be a break before the committee of the whole meeting of 40 minutes after the regular council meeting.
And do you have a seconder? Councillor Potts? And would you like to speak to it first or?
No.
The clerk would like to add something. Go ahead.
Sorry, just to clarify, since we're combining, it'll be one agenda when we're regularly about to take the break. So whether it be 4:30 and we've already started committee of the whole, you would like a 40-minute break. So if the council meeting only lasts for 45 minutes, we would carry on to committee of the whole. And when the normal break occurs, the normal break would be at 40 minutes instead of 30. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so is anyone wishing to speak to that? Okay, I'll just say that I don't support. Oh, go ahead, Councillor Doherty.
Thank you. I would respectfully not support this recommendation just because, and maybe this is personal, but it's too long for me. I like to keep a nice even strain. And that's not, I'm going to be in bed if I have 40 minutes. So I would prefer to stick with the staff recommendation of 30 minutes, half an hour. Thanks.
Thank you. There's one more comment there.
Go ahead, Councillor Baines.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, sorry, not Vice Chair. I would agree with Councillor Doherty. I don't intend to go home or go to the office. So I would just as soon get the time at the back end to be back home having something to eat or drink than delaying the meeting. But I can appreciate for individual councillors who may want to go home for whatever reason, the extra 10 minutes could be quite valuable for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Go ahead, Councillor Ray.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. I think I could support it. Not that there's a whole lot, because not a lot of difference between 10 minutes, I don't think. And I think as we go on, suggestions of the upcoming schedules for next year, the really only long meetings we have are this time of the year when we're doing budget. And I think if they're separated, like suggested, then that extra 10 minutes isn't a big deal for me.
Councillor Potts.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor Fryer. I will support it. I speak for myself on this one, but I've generally got a 10-hour workday in before I get here. So 10 minutes, additional 10 minutes probably would help. Just a bit of an extra break, providing, especially with the long meetings that we face from time to time. So I do support the additional time. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? And I'll just indicate that I'm not supportive of it. So I will call matter to vote. All those in was Councillor Potts. So all in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. Opposed? And so that is defeated. So I will turn it back to Mayor Hamlin and
the chair and the time. So if there are any of the recommendations that would be approved.
Okay. The clerk's just mentioning we should make sure that we approve the remainder of the governance staff report. We've discussed a couple of separate items. So are there any further comments on that report? No? All those in favor then? And that's unanimous. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the Heritage Committee of November 2nd, 2023, and the recommendations contained therein with the exception of 167 3rd Street. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Houston and Councillor Perry, any comments? All those in favor? And that's unanimous. Thank you. There's no staff reports today. We have 3 bylaws. So the first one is the bylaw to amend 2020-059, being the bylaw to designate certain powers and duties to officers and employees of the town of Collingwood to provide staff the delegated authority to close dormant site plan control files, and that this be enacted and passed the 4th day of December 2023. Mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Baines, Councillor Doherty. Comments? All those in favor? And that's passed. Thank you. The next one is the fees and services charges. That bylaw number 2023-090, being a bylaw to establish the 2024 fees and service charges, be enacted and passed this 4th day of December 2023. All those in favor? We have to move in a seconder. Councillor Ring, seconded by Councillor Houston. Comments? All those in favor? That's unanimous. And lastly, so that bylaw number 2023-091, being a bylaw to amend the procedural bylaw to implement changes to the governance model, be enacted and passed this 4th day of December 2023. And I'll just look over to the clerk. Is there any changes we need to say to that? No. Okay. Mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Baines, Councillor Doherty, thank you. All those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. The next item is 11.1. This was Councillor Perry's motion on community safety zones. Councillor Perry, did you want to?
Thank you, Mayor Hamlin. Yeah, I'd like to defer this to when we have the report from Committee of the Whole. I think it's more appropriate to talk about it then.
Okay, thank you. And then the next motion is one that Councillor Potts has put forward. I'll ask you to read your motion and we'll take it from there.
Thank you, Mayor Hamlin. The council support the Collingwood Girl Guides $13,000 funding request in support of their trip to Iceland in 2024, and further that the monies come from the council grants and donations account.
Okay, is there a seconder? Deputy Mayor Fryer, thank you. Did you want to speak first or last?
I can speak first. Thanks. So just so council's aware, I support this initiative for many reasons. I certainly, in discussions over the last couple of weeks, there's been some comments, you know, kind of back and forth about the size of the ask and the amount. And I understand in today's world the challenges of fundraising, being heavily involved in minor sports myself and other organizations. It is difficult, and I get that we get asked a lot of asks in our time here on council. But in this case here, with the Girl Guides, and I specifically asked at the last meeting to them, you know, is this a ongoing thing, or and basically what I got was it's a once in a lifetime perhaps opportunity. And I see even on the agenda this week, we have some organizations that are coming forward year after year, asking for in-kind donations and asking for, things continuously that council always supports. And I think in fairness to the Collingwood Girl Guides, it's an initiative that we all want our children to engage in community programs and to be out and to give back to the community and really to try to build their skills as years go on. And I think I've watched the efforts of their fundraising, from car washes to cookie sales to just being out and cleaning up garbage along our waterfronts and just really actually putting an effort in and them coming here and speaking to council. And I would be remiss if I didn't support this initiative to go to Iceland, and to the leaders that the time they put in. So I support this, and I hope that the town can in some way find it in their hearts to be able to do the same thing. And I'll leave it for the rest of council's comments, but I do support the Girl Guides. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Baines.
Thank you, Mayor Hamlin. I'd like to thank Councillor Potts for his eloquence and commitment to the Girl Guides in this resort. It's touching, quite frankly, and I think everyone appreciates it. Regretfully, I cannot support this motion. And I say that from someone who does support this Girl Guides Troop 12, who actively called upon them to help distribute programs for the Remembrance Day service. I've stockpiled Girl Guide cookies to in turn resell them to members of a local club. And indeed, the club I was involved in has donated money to them. And I've personally pledged to try and raise, I'm not committing to this directly, but I have placed calls to different organizations to come up with another $3,000 in regard to this $13,000. But to the point at hand, there's a much larger policy issue, I believe, for this council to establish, so this doesn't happen again, a process where we can evaluate each of these applications. It's very difficult to do in an objective way, but nevertheless, every organization I've ever been involved in does have an evaluation process which tries to take or become more, allow some anonymity for each of the different requests. But I think we need a more objective process, and that's our fault collectively, I suppose, as a council, because we are aware of other requests that are going to come down the tube, and we need something in order to evaluate these, is I suppose what I would say. And if anything, I could ask if this could be deferred, because as I understand it, I think the jamboree that they want to go to in Iceland is in the spring of 2024. And if by chance this council or staff could come back with a process that we could use, perhaps we could say to them, come back after we've got that evaluative process. But until that occurs, I'm just not comfortable with this quantum of the request at this point. So for that reason, I won't be supporting this at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Perry.
Thank you, Mayor Hamlin. I fully agree with Councillor Baines as far as there's got to be some kind of criteria, and maybe this will be a stepping stone or something to have some kind of guidelines for this type of request. I do agree with Councillor Potts too that this is an opportunity of a lifetime for this group to take a trip. It'll be memories they'll have for a lifetime. I'd be willing to amend it, and pending Treasurer Quinlan and how we are financially, to half, like $6,500, say, if that's doable. Thank you.
So would you like to ask Treasurer Quinlan about the status of the budget right now?
Yes, I'm asking you, Treasurer Quinlan. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Councillor Perry. So the 2023 budgeted amount is already spent. There isn't anything left in 2023. In fact, we're slightly over in 2023 due to some in-kind donations that were backlogged from previous years. But for 2024, we essentially have about 135,000. Of that, 35,000 is for in-kind support. So that's generally managed through parks and in some ways public works and staff doing other things that we wouldn't normally do for free. The 100,000, we have almost $80,000 already requested. GTHS has asked for 30,000. Climate Action Group has asked for another 32,000. We've got the Institute of Southern Georgian Bay asking for 10,000 as well. I think what I would suggest, because I know it's a difficult position to be in, and I hear what Councillor Baines has shared, that generally there is a application. Somehow you review all of the items that have come forward and then you allocate accordingly. And what we had suggested during the budget, the last budget meeting, was that in fact this policy come forward. I don't think we provided timing. So what I would suggest is that maybe the policy comes forward in the first quarter of 2023 for council approval and or changes to it. And then at that point in time, make the decisions to allocate funding in that way, just as a suggestion. It's difficult right now, sitting in the seats you're in, to make the final say when really it's 100,000 that's available in terms of cash.
Go ahead, your follower.
Okay, great point. A question to Councillor Potts. When is this trip supposed to happen? You probably said it, but.
Through you, Mayor Hamlin. I believe it's October 2024.
Okay, so
in the initial, I'm hearing to my right here, probably a little bit of shock of when it is, but basically what initially when it was brought forward, I felt that, if bringing it to the process now and then understanding that it could be whether it's in this budget or for next budget or something through the, through next, I think it's, or if it's through next season, through 2024, but just to give them the comfort that, they have exhausted a lot of fundraising for this big initiative, and just to give them some comfort that if they do fall short, that they want to be assured that there would be something there for them. So I'm not saying that it's something that has to be approved now, but I thought given it's budget time, no better time than to bring it forward. So thanks.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Doherty.
Thank you, Chair. I am inclined to support this request. I realize that there is not a process in place. And I'm very pleased to hear that one of the objectives for 2024 is to bring a recommendation forward. And in fact, I would be willing to add an amendment to this, to that effect, that we would see a formal policy by, say, the end of Q1 in 2024. But, we don't, there is some room in the budget. B, we don't frequently get requests specifically of this nature. Our requests that have come in so far from nonprofit charitable organization, this I see as being a community group. This council has made a commitment to supporting the youth of our community, and I think that this is a way to put our money where our mouths are, in effect, because the learning that is going to come out of a trip like this is priceless for these girls. So, and there was something else I wanted to say about that. Okay, but that's good enough. So I will support it and propose an amendment that a formal a staff report on a formal review process be brought forward in Q1 of 2024. If that's not too tight of a timeline.
Okay. So do you want to make that amendment now?
Yes, that a staff report come forward outlining a formal process of evaluating requests from community groups, NGOs or charities request for cash from the town.
Okay, so we'll deal with that amendment. Would there be a seconder for that? Councillor Baines, thank you. Would anyone like to speak to that? Councillor Ring.
I'm not sure how that's going to affect the original motion.
Well, we'll deal with the amendment first, and then we'll deal with the whole of the motion. So
No,
the
that's
motion,
fine. But
yeah.
I'm saying, is that changing the intent of the original motion? She wanted it first.
Okay, yes, go ahead, Councillor Doherty.
No, I was not proposed to defer. I was proposing to, or I was saying I would support this request. So the motion or the amendment in my mind would be that the $13,000 be approved for the Collingwood Girl Guides for the trip to Iceland, and that a staff report come forward in Q1 of 2024 outlining a new process of evaluating requests for donations from, thank you, from nonprofits, charitable groups, and community groups.
Okay, yes, go ahead.
That's fine, but I would have thought that that wasn't an amendment to the motion, that's a separate motion that we could deal with. But anyway, that's fine.
I think it's an amendment in the sense that she's saying yes, I'm in favor of granting the funds, but at the same time, I think we should have a policy because we might get more requests. So I think it's fairly an amendment.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. Now when we're talking about amendments,
Yeah.
I think we've got much on the floor here. Can we
No,
have
there's
another one?
there's just one amendment. So before we go to a different one, though, I would like to vote on the one that Councillor Doherty's brought forward about having an amendment, about having a policy brought forward to us by staff as described by the treasurer and as she's described. So did we get a second?
Yes.
Yes, you seconded. Okay, so would anyone like to comment on this amendment? Deputy Mayor.
Are you intending on making an amendment as well in this regard?
I was hoping to, but it's to the original. It's not to the addition of a policy, because that's basically all that's being added here right now.
Okay, because I wouldn't want to vote on this amendment if there was another amendment but I guess all we're doing is approving the amendment to be voted on, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, what we're voting on is the amendment as described by Councillor Doherty. So it's an addition to the motion that's before us. Okay, seeing no other comments, all those in favor? Oh, did you have a comment? Yeah, go ahead.
Just one comment.
Yeah.
As far as process goes, I will be voting for the amendment, but against the motion. So.
Okay, that's
Thank
fine. And I'll just say in terms of the amendment, I do think we do need a policy, the fact we don't have one, I guess, is a bit surprising, but I guess there haven't been a lot of major requests made to council. In addition to the groups that the treasurer has mentioned that we know will come forward, I believe the Pride Parade group will come, and that we'll hear from Home Horizon even before the end of the year. So there are a few others out there that are community groups. So I'm very much in favor of council coming up with a policy, and the sooner the better. So, okay, so let's just vote on that amendment. All those in favor? And that's unanimous. Thank you. Now, you have an amendment you'd like to bring forward?
Yes, please. And this is to the original motion of Councillor Potts's, and I'm wholeheartedly, if it doesn't go through, voting for his motion. But what I was saying, what I was going to like to try to add to is just change the wording a little bit in his motion to up to $13,000. That way, if they raise money by the time they go, then we're not committed to 13,000.
You know what? I just wrote those words into my draft sitting in front of me. Good point. Okay, anyone want to second that? Friendly amendment? Okay, all right. Sort of fit in with some Councillor Bain's suggestion that there might be some fundraising going on. So there was a seconder for that? Oh, it was a friendly amendment, Sylvia, you're fine. Okay, any comments? All those in favor? That's unanimous. Those opposed? And 2 opposed. Thank you. Okay. Any other amendments or comments on this motion? I'm quite, conflicted about this because I am very much in support of the Girl Guides, and I do think they add a lot to our community. They've been stalwart participants and an outstanding youth group. And I very much want to encourage our youth. So I'm going to vote in favor of this. I'm very much focused on the words up to 13,000. And I would like to speak to Councillor Baines about how we can get the amount more than 3,000 that we raised for our community, because I think that's where this money should come. So those were my comments.
Just for clarity.
Yeah.
I understand that we were satisfied it was a friendly amendment.
Yeah.
So we have voted on the motion as amended up to 13,000.
Oh, before, so, okay, well, forget what I said then. We already, so is everyone happy with that? We passed the motion with 2 opposed. Okay. Thank you for that clarification. Okay, well, that was easy. All right, next, it's a bylaw. So we have before us, we had this on a previous agenda. Looking for a mover and a seconder, that bylaw number 2023-092 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an amending agreement for the provision of police services with His Majesty the King and Right of Ontario as represented by the Solicitor General and the Corporation of the Town of Collingwood to extend the current agreement for 1 year to expire December 31, 2024, be enacted and passed this 4th day of December 2023. This is extending the OPP contract by 1 year. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Perry, Councillor Potts, any comments? Yes, Councillor Doherty.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to the CAO, just to confirm that this renewal includes a renewal of the budget, so we would see no change in the budget for 2024 for OPP.
CAO, go ahead.
Thank you through the chair to Councillor Doherty. The OPP contract, so for the OPP to act as the Collingwood Police and of course be paid by everyone's land taxes. We have the standard agreement with the Ontario Provincial Police and we pay via a formula. So the formula is applied each year. We've received the billing for the advance year going forward, and I'm sure the treasurer has that at her fingertips. But in any case, to move forward, it would be using the same process as the OPP would typically use, and would continue to include the optional schools resource officer, which is the only contract enhancement we've council has negotiated with the OPP.
Thank you. Yep, you're right. Yep.
Okay. All those in favor? And opposed? Deputy Mayor, are you voting? Did you up? Okay. All right. Thank you. With a technical problem. Okay, that was unanimous. Thank you. Are there any notices of motion this evening or this afternoon? It should be. I see none. County report. Deputy Mayor, did you want to raise anything tonight?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Hamlin. I'll start with the passing of the 2024 budget. The 774 million total will require a 1.7% operation and a 2% capital investment increase in their levy. For Collingwood's median assessed household, it's $38 in annual impact. 212 million of the total is the tax levy portion. The rest of it all comes from other funding streams. One feature of the budget is increased funding to support a dedicated offload nurse at General Marine Hospital. This is being done to further assist paramedic turnaround time as a means for faster return into their vital response service mode. Final approval also was given for Simcoe County to purchase Barrie's Lake Simcoe Regional Airport 10% ownership share, so that county then has 100% operational control. Another item to update on is I was able to speak with General Manager Fayez Baigat to review Simcoe County's latest work in regards to some housing needs. We don't return to Midhurst until January the 9th, so even though he and his staff have been keeping in touch with CAO Skinner, I thought it best to get any latest details. I reviewed about the daily shelter utilization stats for our local motel center and that it indicates almost maximum usage. Simcoe County agrees that there's an immediate need to find a solution for this. The Simcoe County's tenders for the modular housing close on this week on the 7th, and will give an indication of what can be done as far as modular solutions. The modular that was put in place at Rose Street in Barrie last year cost $1.3 million. Simcoe County is really hoping to see a reduced amount per unit so that a minimum of 2 can be obtained and initiated as soon as possible. We know that probably the biggest hurdle besides cost is finding service municipal property in an appropriate location that a modular unit can be located. Much the same as the difficulty we have in finding an effective warming and efficiency center solution. Simcoe County staff are committed to keeping CAO Skinner informed on their progress, and as soon as any new information comes through, we'll be sure to get it through to council. The last item is in regards to unanimous approval of the motion made by Mayor Smith in Wasaga Beach and seconded by Warden Clark, who is Mayor of Ramera, regarding a letter of support of Mayor Anderson's, who is Angela Tesserantio, a request for some kind of policy, Simcoe County School Board wide, to bring back police resource officers into local high schools. I initially inquired about their letter on the county agenda, and Mayor Anderson explained that the intention was to take something on further about this forward at a later date. I said at that time that I would plan to bring it forward to Collingwood Council for their consideration. But instead, after a number of other council members voiced their own concerns with the removal decision, the motion was made for Simcoe County to advocate their support to all lower tier municipalities, as well as to, other related parties. Since those discussions ran for about 20 minutes, I won't be able to go into all the detail right now. The YouTube video of the meeting is available for review though, and I would note that the discussion started at the 28-minute mark if anybody's interested in hearing the discussions. So I just would close with regarding anything about the meeting, the Simcoe County portal holds all the details, and it includes the YouTube link to grab the review of the video. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Potts.
Thanks, Mayor Hamlin. Just to Deputy Mayor Fryer, just in regards to with the county and the homelessness, we had spoke briefly last week in reference to when the manager of the county was here, and I appreciate your report today. He'd indicated there was going to be a couple of fairly big news items that were going to be good for the area in the month of November, and I have to say I'm a little bit disappointed that there's not something bigger than what we're hearing. Again, my opinion. But I ask this council, and I know myself being in the community, we get beat up quite often that we're not doing anything or we're lacking of. And with the community not understanding the process, is there any way that we can maybe have media releases to show maybe what the process is, or to make the community aware a little bit better of how things are going and where we're at? I know I get lots of phone calls and emails about their concerns that we aren't listening, we aren't doing anything, and I know we are, but I continue to advocate, for the homelessness issue in Collingwood to the county, that we need to keep the foot on the throttle and we need to keep pushing forward. I don't want to be at the end of my 4-year term still saying that we've done nothing. So those are my comments.
Thank you. Do you want to go at the end? There's other comments still to come. Is yours also on the homelessness one?
No,
Or
just a
different? Oh.
clarification question.
Okay. All right.
And I
Ma'am?
don't disagree with Councillor Potts's points, and we're trying to give up-to-date information. It still can look a little bit slower moving than when we would like. I was maybe going to just ask if CO Skinner would be able to provide some comment too, but I'm hopeful that once they see the tenders, we're going to know something a little more concrete in regards to the modular. But again, I'll repeat, the biggest challenge we have is finding a location that we can put it. But and I know the efforts are there in regards to the warming center as well. So I thought if I could, Mayor Hamlin, through you, just ask if CO Skinner could add some comment about it.
Mm-hmm. Of course. CO Skinner?
Thank you, through the chair. We've been meeting, I would say, each quarter, if not a little more often, with the not-for-profits and faith groups in town that have been supporting those who are experiencing or looking like they may be experiencing homelessness, and have set that discussion up to feature the county because they do have the lead, as Councillor Potts mentioned. We do encourage them to look at voicing the services that are being offered in Collingwood as the Simcoe West or Simcoe Northwest services, because of course Collingwood's not alone. The municipalities around us are also experiencing the same types of things, or persons from those municipalities may be coming to Collingwood, seeking some of the services that are offered here. I would say that we also have a good collaborative relationship with the county staff and with the hiring of Mina Fayaz Beget. He has provided significant leadership to the area, and as well, the province has provided additional funding. In fact, a significant new amount of additional funding that can be distributed across the county. I do think we can do a better job of really making sure that people understand we're supporting the county in this. However, they do have the front leadership. Last year around this time, we did do a press release just to direct people to, who's doing what and where they may wish to donate if they have time or financial resources. I can talk to the comms department about potentially doing something like that again this year. It would be good timing for that.
And I also, I'll just say that I think the big announcements that Mina mentioned may have been a subsequent county report where they announced a lot of additional funding for our Busby Center, because previously it was only open in the winter, and now the funding allows it to be open all year round, but there's no additional beds. So it's not perfect. And the other aspect, of course, that he mentioned was they were going to hire people specifically for our community who would be doing individual outreach to those who are without housing, and seeing if there was ways to intervene person by person to get them back on their feet. When I last inquired, but it was probably a month or so ago, those people hadn't yet been onboarded. So I think that I'm hoping that would make a critical difference. But I'll ask again in the new year. Yeah, sorry, did you want to ask? Go ahead.
Sure. Thanks, Mayor Hamlin. And I can certainly appreciate process and onboarding the staff. It is what it is. But I think in addition, just with the homelessness on the street, a big portion of what I hear and what I see is the safety of our own residents as well. And when we have residents that, are getting uncomfortable going in to do their banking or going to take the bus or the transit, I think there's a big picture here. Mm-hmm. And I've been involved in many things over the years where things get kicked to the curb until next month, until it's so far gone that it's too hard to bring back. So I will continue to advocate month after month. I'm not going away. And I want to make sure that we are on the path so the community is aware that we are trying to bring something home for our homeless and for our residents of Collingwood. Thanks.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor, you were next.
And I continue to commit to the councillor that I'll update as much as I can with what we have. And I think what you were referring to earlier, Mayor Hamlin, is community safety officers that will be able to visit our community. And my understanding is in the meeting with CEO Skinner a couple of weeks ago, that's going to be coming fairly shortly into the area. The CSA, we could maybe go through you again to the CAO. I think she has a comment.
Sorry, do you have information on that? Go ahead.
Thank you. Yes, through you. As the mayor had mentioned, there has been a request for proposal out for a community safety officers, which are folks. I believe there was a trial in Barrie over the past year, and these are folks that would walk around the community, targeting certain areas where it seems like they're needed most. They provide in part a security function, but largely it's about making sure people are aware of services, making sure they're part of the enumeration so that we know who people are and where they are, such that they can be directed towards services and shelter. Unfortunately, it looks like the actual supports within the community won't be rolling out in a larger way until in the April timeframe. However, they were looking at some initial work over the winter with a smaller number of their existing staff, as well as a review of our town by the company that's been hired to do that, so they know where they'd be going, how many patrols per week they'd be targeting, and thus to get ready for their April timeframe. This is really county information, which they did provide to me quite recently, and the library CEO. So I expect that they will validate their dates over the next little while, potentially in some enhanced communication.
Thank you. Councillor Baines.
Thank you, Mayor Hamlin. Through you to the Deputy Mayor, in regard to a clarifying question, you had mentioned 1.5 million for a modular home that the county had spoken about. I'm assuming that includes the cost of land, I hope.
No, the purchase was 1.3 million is what I think. If I said 5, I apologize, because it was 1.3. But that was the purchase of the units. I'd have to actually look into what it was in total.
Holy moly!
So where it would be located would be technically temporary. It's where we're going to build the new apartment. Hundreds of apartment building. So the land is being used for that purposes. So, but the one of the biggest issues is finding service land, because you can't put it on just anywhere. You need to have service land, and you'd prefer to have it somewhere in the proximity where it's somewhat easy to get to where the motel is located. We do have the bus service that goes by there, but it is located at the skirt of the town too.
Right.
So it's a very, very much challenge, and everybody put your thinking caps on. If you can find a spot, we'd like to be able to look into it. So
thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, so the next item on the agenda is our consent agenda. There's only one item, and it's what we're being asked to do here is receive the general consent agenda. And it's noted that the information and opinions provided in the general consent agenda items are that of the author and not verified or approved as being correct. And the item is the letter from the Associate Minister of Small Business, that's Nina Tangri. And I had written her asking if they would consider additional funding for our Small Business Enterprise Center. As you know, the funding's been less than agreeable. They have not increased it in any significant way in many years. And the work of our Small Business Enterprise Center, which is unbelievably successful in helping the number of businesses it does every year, has continued to do more and more with less and less. So I was very happy to get this response with her interest to schedule a meeting in the new year. Our manager of economic development is busy trying to set that up. So fingers crossed. All right. So is there any old or deferred business anyone would like to raise? Any other business? Yes, Deputy Mayor.
Actually, a couple things. Did we vote on receiving the letter?
No. Should we vote on that? Yeah. Okay. All those in favor of receiving? Okay. Deputy Mayor and Councillor Doherty's seconding that. All those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you.
And then the other item was, I may have just let this kind of breeze right by, but did we vote on 9.1 in regards to the Heritage Committee? I don't recall because I think I had a question in my head about 167.
I remember voting on that, but
okay, I'm sorry, I didn't recall.
Okay. So did you want to raise something under other business? We can't reopen that, but the vote, but
no, I didn't recall.
Okay. And is that all the other business that you had?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other business? Okay, so I'm going to read one thing. This is a message that the council assistant got. It was from Gary Perry. Called the office of the mayor, wanted to pass along how fantastic the community pool is. He thinks it's the best run facility in town and deserves recognition. Michelle and all the staff who work there are very welcoming and helpful, and he has a great experience every time he goes there. So it's good to have good news to finish the meeting, right? Happy customer. Okay, so we're on to the confirmatory bylaw, that bylaw number 2023-093, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the regular meeting of council held December 4, 2023, be enacted and passed this 4th day of December, 2023. Mover and a seconder, Councillor Houston and Councillor Perry. All those in favor? And that's unanimous. And we have, no, he's not going for the adjournment. Anyone else? Councillor Houston. Woohoo. Okay, all those in favor. Thank you. That's great. So we'll just take a 10-minute break and we'll switch over, and Councillor Doherty will be chairing the committee of the whole meeting. So we'll come back in 10 minutes. Thank you.